Philomena Kunk, the UK's queen of deadpan satire. She's made you laugh and cringe. And now there's a podcast all about this TV icon, Kunked, a very unofficial podcast. That's CUNKD on all podcast platforms. Kunked covers the brilliantly awkward world of Philomena Kunk, hosted by a razor-sharp Brit and a witty American who unpack every ridiculous moment with clever commentary and cultural banter. If you love Philomena Kunk's satire, absurdity, and laughing till it hurts, Kunked is for you. So be sure to check out Kunked on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Kunked. Start listening right now.
This is Bad Movies We Love, part of the Shice Podcast Network.
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Hello again, Bad Movie lovers, and welcome back to Bad Movies We Love. As always, I'm your host, Nick Scheist.
The master of this stupid stuff!
June is going to be a very special month here at the show as we celebrate the films of Juneffer Lopez. That's right, it's Juneffer Lopez. See, I told you I was the master of the stupid stuff. That being said, this month is going to be a lot of fun because, if anything, Juneffer Lopez is not short on vibes. And speaking of vibes, you can let me know how you're feeling about the show by taking the listener survey or calling the hotline at 805-285-3885 and leaving me a voicemail that may get played on the air. You can also email me at badmovieswelove@thesheist.com, just like our friends Movie Miss, Keon, and Phil, who all submitted emails for email during May, and they are all going to be receiving DVDs from my personal collection and some extra bonus goodies to go along with it. If you want to be automatically entered in all future giveaways, a great way to do that is by signing up and becoming a card-carrying member of the Resistance at badmovieswelove.captivate.fm/support. For just $5 a month, you'll get access to all the bonus series, Buy Mon Sci-Fi Con, Bad Movie Futures, Rom-Comathon, and I'm toying with the idea of doing a horror movie bonus series as well, as if I don't have enough stuff to do, but you'll get a lot for your money. That $5 goes a long way in helping an independent show like this one, but if you like the show, you want to help, and you don't want to spend $5, you can do so by following the podcast or subscribing and leaving a rating, and more specifically, a review is a fantastic way to help the show. It's digital word of mouth, and as you know, I believe word of mouth is the best way to help. And that's enough of those words from my mouth for now, because we got a show to get to. And we're kicking things off with Tarsem Singh's surrealist, insane dreamscape, psycho serial killer movie, The Cell from 2000. This is a 4-star film for Roger Ebert. He liked this movie better than Silence of the Lambs.
It's not Juneffer Lopez necessarily, it's everything else going on for the film.
Got up at 6:30 in the morning to watch this movie like a true psychopath.
D'Onofrio's doing all the heavy lifting. He is this movie.
We live for the disemboweling.
It is nightmare fuel if you're not ready for it.
Not a real horse.
That's fine, you can disown The Cell. That's fine, I disown you.
What you eat? Don't lie.
I came to help you.
Lie. Bitch. Whore.
You sound like your father.
Come on. was nothing. He is nothing.
Miss, welcome back to the show.
Hello. So
Hello.
excited to be here.
Thank you for being here to kick off Juneffer Lopez officially.
Yes. Every time this movie comes up, I feel like that Shaq meme where he's just like doing the shoulders and he's so excited. I'm like, yes, let's talk it.
Well, the last time we got together was for Ghost of Mars, so it wasn't even that long ago, but how have you been?
Good. Really good. Still working on my season 5, getting it in the can and ready to go.
I see you've been doing a lot of re-releases lately of previous episodes.
Yes, and it's actually a lot of fun for me to go back and remaster them and tune them up, because as I'm listening, I'm remembering how hilarious I am. So, no, I'm kidding. But how much fun, the episodes were. It's a blast to put out the old ones and remaster them.
I had to do a little bit of that with season 1 because this show started on a different show. And then it was like, not like a segment, but it was like, oh, this is an idea I'm sort of like testing out here and we'll see if it gets traction. So I had to go back and kind of remake all of those, but I was like, I don't want to re-edit them from scratch. So I'm only going to re-edit the audio that I already finished and see what I can do with it. So not ideal, but It was nice to go back and actually like make sure that was the first official season of like 6 episodes.
Yeah, I'm glad the idea took off, because all the movies that you cover, well, a lot of the movies you cover are sort of bad, like so bad they're good, but a lot of them don't qualify for my show. So I'm happy to come on here and talk different movies with you.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it sort of falls within a certain score range, I'm fine with it. And every now and then I'll bend the rules to allow something in there that's like a little borderline that I maybe wouldn't, but this one's fine. But I want to change things a little bit. Can you want to do the honors and introduce the film that we're talking about today?
Yes, we are talking The Cell from 2000, starring Juneffer Lopez and Vincent D'Onofrio. And I cannot pronounce the director's name, so I'll let you do that.
It was directed by Tarsem Singh. They all call him Tar. So, I mean, him and I are not on like first name basis or any name basis. So I'll go formal. But it was written by Mark Protosevich and like you said, starring Juneffer Lopez, who's going to be the star of the whole month here on the show. Also stars Vince Vaughn. It also has a lot of like really deep sort of, not necessarily even cameos, but a pretty rich cast overall, in that Colton James is in it, Dylan Baker, Marianne Jean-Baptiste, who could have probably won an Oscar last year. Catherine Sutherland's in it, Jake Webb, who I always loved from Medium, Dean Norris, who's always playing a cop, and Peter Sarsgaard has like a tiny role in this movie, uncredited, and he is the fiance of the kidnapped woman.
Are you serious? I did not pick him out of a lineup.
Yeah.
Did we even get a scene with him?
Yeah, he's on the couch with her mother when they go to announce that she's been taken.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I saw him and I was like, is that him? I was like, does he not? I don't even know if he speaks, but he is there. He might say a word. So it's definitely early in his career. But yeah, the cast is really strong in this film. And I think sort of having a good cast, I mean, on the one hand, yes, it's partially like the casting agent doing a good job of bringing in the right people. But I think also a lot of attention is drawn to sort of like momentum and passion. And this was Singh's first film, and he just had a big reputation going into the film. And so as people began to come on board for the film, it really began to like take shape as something that was maybe bigger and better than what it was envisioned as. But what is your relationship with this film? Was this something that like you were dialed into and went and saw it in theaters? Were you a big J-Lo fan in 2000?
So I wouldn't say I was a big fan. I think I'd seen her previously to this, like in Anaconda, which I know I went and saw on the big screen because Ice Cube. I did go see this at the theater, and then I did go out and buy it right away when it came out on physical media, because it always struck me not as a J-Lo vehicle per se. Like I could take her or leave her in this, to be honest with you. It's the visual aesthetic of the film, the sound, the costumes, the sets, the story that they're telling. I wish they would have told it a little bit better, but everything about this movie appealed to me and always has. I try to ask people, and share it as much as I can. Have you seen this movie? And a lot of the time I get the eye roll. They're like, oh, that Jennifer Lopez movie. I'm like, well, give it a chance. Like if you take her out of it, just enjoy the rest of it. But I'm a fan of hers in this. I mean, she's not bad at all.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of I wouldn't say I made an exception, but in my mind, I don't view this as like a Jennifer Lopez movie, if that makes sense. Like, this is a movie that happens to have Jennifer Lopez in it, and it gives her a chance to actually do some acting that is not attached to her celebrity. So I like that a lot about it. And it's a movie that its visual language always struck me. But at the same time, like, I'm a big sci-fi guy. And this was a very interesting blend of sci-fi and horror, but also, it's dabbling in the mid to late 90s obsession with serial killer dramas. So in that same way, I feel like it's pulling from a lot of other films that I like in order to put together a new twist on a familiar idea. And I mean, I think there's a lot of good serial killer procedurals that happened in that era. And so maybe I could kind of take or leave that aspect of it, because I just want more of the sort of mind palace fantasy nature of the film. But have you seen any of Singh's other films?
So no, I know that he came from a background of ads and music videos, which explains in volumes why this movie looks the way it looks and sounds the way it sounds. But I don't know about films, no.
Yeah, the only one that I for sure have seen was Selfless, which is Ryan Reynolds and I want to say Ben Kingsley. It might not be Ben Kingsley, but it's like an old man gets a new body. So his old mind is in a younger body.
Yes.
I think. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen it, but that's a movie that I might cover on the show at some point as well, because I know a friend of mine really likes that movie, so I might be able to shoehorn that in. But I just want to quickly, we'll go to the tail of the tape to let people know how this ended up here in the first place. So this has an IMDb score of 6.4, which is respectable, but it has a Metascore of 40. So critics did not like it. And then it has a letterbox of 3.2, so right in line with that IMDb score, about a 64. And again, we go back to the critics. Rotten Tomatoes has it at a 45% critic score, and then a 57 audience score. So that's not really good either. But it gives us a Bad Movies We Love total score of 54 out of 100. So kind of in, I would say, the sweet spot for this show, where it's not in the borderline range of being over 60, and then it's not in the really like suck zone of being in like the 30s.
Right.
It's these kind of movies, I think, are the ones that are best suited for the show, because they have probably the most rich content to mine, in the sense that there's a lot of good to take away from the film, and then there's also some things that detract from the overall experience of the film and stop it from being a great movie that is recognized by everybody as being a great film. So I think it really hones in on sort of like personal specifics, or it gives the opportunity to hone in on the personal specifics why a movie is considered, a favorite. And it's been a favorite of mine for a long time. It's not something I saw in theaters, but the first time I saw it, I was kind of wowed by the way that it looked. And then I didn't really care what else was going on. I was just like, oh, yeah, this is really weird looking. And okay, it's set in the near future, which gives it enough grace with me to continue down this road. And they've got some great bodysuits and costumes. So I was just totally on board. And it wasn't my fandom of Juneffer Lopez, which didn't even really exist at the time. So I think that's a lot of credit to just the visual representation of the film and the identity behind the screenplay.
Yeah, that's it exactly sums up, I think, how a lot of people who do like this film, that's why. Because it's not Juneffer Lopez necessarily, it's everything else going on for the film. I feel like if she wasn't in it, maybe more people, it's just like an immediate turnoff for some people. But there's a lot of actors that's the case. Somebody goes, ooh, they're in that, I don't want to watch that. And it's like, well, give it a chance.
Yeah, that's fair. It does strike me a little bit as kind of like a music video, which Singh had done several of as well. Yeah. And I think there's like two schools of thought in that people that come from making music videos into making film don't make films in a conventional sense that is appealing to some people. But for me, I think it's actually one of the bigger selling points. I've heard that same thing used with Guy Ritchie, who was making a lot of music videos before he started making film. And I was like, I actually like that about his visual storytelling. And that's why I'm a Guy Ritchie fan. He's not like my favorite director, but I'm always interested in what he's going to do because of where he came from. And so I think similarly, that same kind of visual language, when you only maybe have, we'll say 2.5 to 5 minutes of a music video to really tell a visual story to enrich this song, it's sort of condensing all of your storytelling power into like a very, very small bubble where you have to be effective with the shots that you're using. And so a lot of the time, music videos are much more memorable than the song, or have a big impact on making the song memorable, especially because I think both you and I grew up with music videos being a large part of our musical culture, that maybe they're just like not in the same way anymore.
Yeah, agreed. That's one of the things that I fight for when I'm trying to like defend this. I'm an apologist for this movie. Is it's a feast for your senses. You're getting the music, you're getting the visuals. It's super immersive in that way, where if you just let go and get into the crazy sci-fi aspect and enjoy what you're watching, enjoy what you're hearing, I don't understand how you can't at least get something from this of enjoyment.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to let go. And if you don't know who the director is and you see Juneffer Lopez in the lead, maybe that's enough to make you think it's bad just at a glance. But I think the deeper you look at the cast, the more familiar faces there are, where you may actually want to see what those actors are doing in this film. And a lot of them really have great small parts. And I think it's smart in terms of how you give ballast to Juneffer at this point. I don't know if it's like, I wouldn't call this like her breakthrough role or anything, but she wasn't like a superstar necessarily at this point. And so surrounding her with just like really good, consistent character actors to build out all of like the texture of the real world in this movie, because when you're in the fantasy world, it's mostly just like her and one other character, her and the kid, her and Vinny. Either of the Vinnies in this. But it's very limited. And so when you get into like the larger real world, there's a lot more characters working all at the same time. There's a lot more going on. It feels so much different than the rest of the film. But I'm going to take a moment here to just set the table for the audience so that way they know what the hell we're talking about in case they haven't seen The Cell, which if you haven't, you probably really shouldn't be listening to this right now, but
we're going to ruin it.
Well, hopefully
Spoilers.
we won't ruin it, but yeah, I would hope that you have at least seen the movie, but if not and you're still here, then by all means, like, take care and listen along, and hopefully it'll inspire you to watch the movie. But speaking of inspiration, this was inspired by an intense interest in serial killers and their traumatic backgrounds by screenwriter Mark Protosevich. And he developed The Cell after 6 years of writing in a bunch of different genres in the 90s, seeking to explore whether compassion could exist for individuals who've committed horrific acts, but also suffered greatly themselves. And this was, I believe, his first credited screenplay. And originally, he imagined the film's dream sequences in a style more of Nightmare on Elm Street, specifically number 3. And that vision evolved dramatically when Tarsem Singh joined the project in 1998. And he's, of course, known for his visual style heading into this film, even though this is his first movie. He reimagined the film's psychological landscape as this like surreal operatic experience, and ultimately gives the film its iconic look. And this was produced by New Line Cinema, and it just became this blend of horror and sci-fi and visual artistry that maybe didn't really exist before that. But principal photography began in LA in late July of 1999, with the filming taking place in a bunch of striking visual locations around the world, including key shots being filmed in Barcelona at the Barcelona Pavilion in Spain, in Nambia's Namib Nook Luft National Park, and across California, including the Neuroscience Institute in La Jolla, and the Linda Vista Community Hospital in LA. Throughout production, screenwriter Mark Protosevich continued rewriting scenes to support Singh's ambitious visual style. And The Cell, despite its reputation, was a commercial success upon its release in the US, debuting at number 1, earning $17.5 million in its opening weekend, marking the biggest opening of J-Lo's career at that time.
I contributed to that.
And domestically, it grossed over $61 million, and internationally, it added a big chunk to, gaining a global box office total of more than $104 million against a $33 million budget. And The Cell finished being ranked as the 32nd highest grossing film of the year 2000. So not too shabby.
No, I think there was a direct-to-video sequel, if I recall, that had nothing to do with anything. And I'm like, well, the only thing I can think is, well, it did well, so they wanted to make a sequel. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's terrible.
I don't think anybody from the original project is involved again.
I don't think so.
So yeah, it was kind of a cash grab. It's a movie that if you're going to make a sequel, you really have to spend probably a good amount of time figuring out, well, A, why do we want to tell another version of this story? And, this is 2000, so it's right on the cusp of visual effects really becoming a mainstay in all movies, more or less. But the technology is getting better at that time. So if you were to try to make a movie now, it might make sense that, J-Lo's still working. She's still around. You could bring her back. You tell the story of someone who is like on the verge of retirement, who is getting out of the business, or she has been retired and sold the practice, and it's another serial killer. And you kind of do maybe the same thing, but you have a little bit more visual tools at your disposal. I don't even think they would greenlight a sequel at this point with Juneffer Lopez for more than $33 million, though.
Oh, that'd be her salary alone, or more. So that's not going to happen. No. And that's fine, because this, even though, like you were saying, it's a cookie cutter serial killer type of thing that was popular, you add the visual style and the way that they're telling the story and the fact that you're going, into somebody's mind, which differentiates it from the rest of the serial killer procedural movies that were out there. So that I don't know if it was to the detriment of this film, the Juneffer Lopez of it all aside, the fact that it was so out there and sci-fi-ish instead of just a regular serial killer story, that kind of hurt it. But I'm glad that it's different because that's why I gravitate toward it.
Are you typically a fan of like serial killer films in that way, like The Sevens and stuff like that?
So, a funny story. Seven was the first of 2 films that I actually walked out of at the theater. I got right to the beginning where they meet the gluttony guy, and I went, nope, got up and walked out of the theater, which I'd never done before in my life. Second movie I ever did that with was 12 Monkeys, but that's another story.
Oh, no.
So I went back, though, and watched them both later and came to appreciate them for what they are. At the time, no, I was not a big fan of this type of thing. I have grown to love them now. I'm all in on the Ryan Murphy of it all. Like, I'm into the serial killer type stuff now. Not at the time, though.
Gotcha. So this was not something that was necessarily appealing on that level to you.
Mm-mm. The trailer, like the previews of the visual, oh my God, this looks insane, is what got me.
Yeah, well, watching it again, I think when I got my new TV at the beginning, like it was after Christmas or maybe Black Friday or something like that. I don't know. It was end of last year. The first thing I wanted to watch, I was like, I knew it was going to be The Cell because it had been a while since I've seen it. I kept telling myself, I really want to watch this movie again. My wife is big into serial killer stuff, but didn't really care for this. So I had watched it a couple of months ago, and then I had got the chance to order the 4K blue restoration from Arrow. And then I ended up watching the second disc version of the film, which is just presented with different color grading and different aspect ratio from the cinematographer, not necessarily a different version of the film. But while I was watching, I was like, okay, there's also a director's cut. Like, let me sort of pull up some side by sides and see what's going on. So the director's cut's actually shorter than the original film by like 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
But you know what's weird? I watched the director's version and the theatrical version and the version you're talking about, but I watched them all back to back to back. So I was able to tell the 2 minutes doesn't seem like a long time, but it's a lot of content. I was shocked.
A lot of it happens in the basement with Carl and his masturbatory chain fantasy stuff.
Yep, that and then the cop stuff when they're huddling and figuring out what they're going to do. A whole lot more of that, which I thought 2 minutes can't be that much time. It's a lot of content. I was shocked.
I know. I wish I had time to watch it because I was just going to put in the first disc and then watch the scenes where there was changes made. But instead, I ended up watching some featurettes instead. And like we were talking about before we recorded, credit to Arrow, the 4K release is packed with stuff. There's so much just on disc 2 that I didn't even finish everything. But one of the things that I went through was the sort of the description of the cinematographer, Paul Laufer, who talked about why he chose to do the remaster and why he chose to use the lenses that he worked with. And like, he had to make some specific choices of how they were filming because the fantasy world element was shot differently than the reality world elements. And when they had to meld those two together for the theatrical cut, there was a lot of problems involved. So when he went back to the original negative, he was like, I want to sort of make it look the way that I know I can now. And honestly, like, it looks amazing. It's not letterboxed at all. Like, it's full screen aspect ratio. So you really get a ton of detail and a ton of color. And so the visual aspect of it, watching it on the 4K Blue was much more rewarding than going and watching it back as like a Apple TV rental.
Agreed. I had the same experience with the Arrow disc. It looked fantastic.
Yeah, I shout out Arrow on this show every now and then because they do good stuff, and I've got several of their releases. So we'll move on now because this is, always one of the favorite parts of the show. We've talked a little bit about what this movie is, but it's time for the synopsis haiku.
I'm ready.
I know you are. You're always prepared. Do you want to go first or you want me to go first? I don't remember what we did last time.
You go first. I went first last time, so you go first this time.
Okay. The mind holds the key. A killer's fantasy land. The clock is ticking.
Oh,
Little vague. It doesn't really describe what's going on in the movie, but there's a killer and there's some minds and there's a countdown.
Okay, mine's simpler, actually. Okay. Catherine mind melds Carl. Killer in gothic wet dream. Thank God the dog lives.
I almost choked. Oh. It is very much like a gothic wet dream in that way. And yeah, Valentine, it's not his fault. Don't blame it on the dog.
I know when you were talking about cast, I was like, we have to give shout out to Tim the dog who plays Valentine the dog.
Yeah, and they also had like Tim Jr.
Oh, really?
Who? Well, I don't know. Who was the baby Valentine though? Like, obviously that dog didn't. Well,
they maybe had more than one, but they credited Tim.
You could have theoretically filmed the movie long enough where the dog would grow from a puppy to full size, because there's the puppy in when she meets adult Carl in his mind and he's at the bathtub with his first victim. You see little baby Valentine.
Oh, that's
wandering around. And I was like, I probably shouldn't in that moment be going like, oh, the dog's so cute. There's a dead woman in the bathtub and blood everywhere. Oops.
That's what my mind does too. I'm like, where's the dog? Show me the dog. Like, the dog is MVP in this movie because without the dog, Carl's not getting his victims. He uses the dog as bait.
Yeah, he does. Very.
So, I mean, he'd catch me if that was the case.
Right. It was an interesting wrinkle to the story to give him like an unwilling accomplice, and not just unwilling, but unaware, because like if you were to do this in terms of like a partner, a pair of serial killers that are working together in order to do this, there is a complicit nature to that, where even if one person is being, say, manipulated or blackmailed or whatever, there is still some morality of that character that comes into question. But by using a dog as the thing that like is his partner in crime, I think it's reflecting a little bit of sort of what the story is telling us about the inner child struggle with Carl, in that there is this innocent thing inside this monster, and it is okay to sort of sympathize with the innocent child that still lives within the body of the monster. And so by doing that with the dog, you really are like, well, it's not the dog's fault. Like, the dog is cute. It's not a vicious attack dog at all. And the dog also doesn't really know any better. It doesn't view Carl as a murderer. It sort of is, this is my owner. He treats me well. And so I really like how it plays with sort of like the dichotomy of the character dynamics there, because I think the film actually is pretty smart in how it handles a lot of those things, but it doesn't like beat you over the head with it. It doesn't treat the audience as stupid, like they can't figure it out. And very early on, sort of in the movie, probably the first half an hour, is when we see the basement scene with the chains. But before that, we're introduced to Catherine while she's already in the, I don't know, the VR contraption. I don't even know what to call it. She's in the clean room. She's suspended in the muscle suit, and she's laying flat on her back. And what we're introduced to is this character who is trying to help somebody else, who's trying to rescue this child, and is doing all these things with very good intentions of helping. And you see that room is sort of like, it has like a blue light glow to it. What she's wearing is bright red. There's a lot of color and it's very sleek. And then we get down to the basement scene where we're first really sort of like introduced to what Carl's doing. And that's all very like green and gray. His body and the body of his victim are completely white. And then he's suspended on hooks from his back facing down and just like completely taking advantage of this victim. And he's gaining pleasure from the torture. And I think he's got the video playing of the other girl drowning also, or it might be the dead girl drowning, and he's just rewatching that video. But he's taking like pleasure in the hurting of somebody else. So already, without really like spelling it out for us, you have very clear sort of character contrast between the two of them. And so I don't know if you anticipate sort of where the movie ends up, because I haven't seen the trailer for it in so long. We're going to watch it in a second because I really want to see how much of this sort of gets spelled out. And maybe I should watch the official original trailer instead of the 4K trailer, because the 4K is just going to sell us on how good everything looks. And I mean, rightfully so.
Right.
But yeah, I'm curious to see if this trailer is going to show us like how early in the movie we get into Carl's captured. Like in most serial killer movies, you know, like that doesn't happen until very late. And so this one approaches that entire storytelling angle very differently. All right, let me get that trailer now that I'm speaking of it. Okay. This trailer rewind is brought to you by our friends at Somniform. Do you toss and turn at night? Does it take you forever to fall asleep? You're not alone. Adjustable beds, cooling mattresses, and memory foam pillows are so 21st century. Say hello to the cutting edge of sleep science. Introducing Somniform Sleep Suspension Systems, the revolutionary sleep suspension therapy that creates true weightlessness and guides you into the deepest corners of your subconscious, and then keeps you there. Originally developed for space travel and high-risk mind mapping operations, Somniform is now available to civilians who want real, healing sleep from the inside out. Sleep is the most crucial element in recovery for our bodies and our minds, so immerse yourself in your inner landscapes, whether they're lush fields of memory or something a little more complex. Go deeper with Somniform. Go deeper. When the one thing standing between you and your best self is a good night's sleep, just remember the 4 S's. Somniform Sleep Suspension Systems, and turn those S's into the best Z's of your life. Somniform is not approved by any terrestrial medical board. Side effects may include time distortion, identity blending, violent dream mirroring, and brief possession by your symbolic shadow self, and is not responsible for deaths caused in shared dream space. Use only as directed. And now, back to the show. Go full screen. Oh, it's going to deafen us. Let's bring that down a little.
Do you believe there's a part of yourself that you don't show anybody? When I'm inside, I get to see those things. I feel them.
Really selling us the sexy there.
These girls were kidnapped, tortured, and murdered. Our killer is a white male.
I mean, they definitely know J-Lo is the star.
Squad's had the house under surveillance for about 20 minutes.
He keeps them in this thing for about 40 hours.
Clear!
And after 40 hours, the water starts. And it doesn't stop. There is a girl that is missing. Her name is Julia Hickson.
I forgot that scene was in the movie where he's stalking her.
That knows where she is.
If he was conscious, do you think that he would tell you where she is?
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
You bring in this monster. And
I guess they really do
to go into that mine.
They're giving you all the beats.
Yeah. It might be important with a story like this, though.
They're giving you just enough of the visual craziness to hook you. I like it.
No.
She's gone very deep into his world.
So she's made contact.
Oh, they're giving away all the good visual stuff, though. Boo.
A little too much, yeah.
Yeah.
Lost. She thinks this is real.
I mean, that kind of like is the DNA of the film, is how weird it is.
True. If this was the theatrical trailer, this explains 100% why I went and saw it.
Yeah.
I went, this looks fucking nuts.
It does.
I mean, I want to go watch it again right now after watching
What
it.
world do you live in?
Wow, that's a really good trailer.
It is. And, you know, as I was watching some of the featurette, one of them was on Singh's visual style. And it was just kind of like interviews with the cast and other people that he worked with, and basically talking about sort of coming out of like film school with him. And he already had all of his collaborators pretty much in place before this movie started getting made. He's like, as soon as I get like my feature greenlit, like we're coming back together to make something. And in the room where they're filming a lot of the scenes in the muscle suits, he's there on set and he's wearing like a sweater that matches that, which is crazy. It's like a big, heavy, flowy cardigan, but it's got the same sort of like vertical ribbed pattern of the muscle suits. And it's not quite the same color, but it is red. And the costume designer worked on Dracula and had the same kind of muscle suit for Dracula.
Those are the same suits.
And so he was a fan of the work on Dracula and brought that over. So I wouldn't be surprised if he had like the sweater for a while. Yeah. But it was kind of crazy to see him walking around the room, like kind of wearing the same thing. Well, now that we've seen the trailer, why do you think someone would, in fact, say that this is a bad movie?
So we've touched on it a bit, the J-Lo portion, but you've got to address the time period that this came out. Like you were saying, late 90s, early 2000s, where CGI was just morphing into something a little bit more improved, a little bit more believable. This movie does a blend of practical and CG, especially when you watch the behind the scenes stuff and you see that they actually made a suit to suspend with the hooks and they had a stunt guy in the suit, and they really did their level best to practical everything they could. But the CG is Xbox level. In some scenes, it's very janky. So I think that would put a lot of people off. I think they'd be like, the movie didn't have the best effects, so it makes it a bad movie for them. I think that's probably where that falls. For me, I can overlook it because there's so much visually else to love about the movie. But I think that's a sticking point for a lot of people.
And so we've talked about the Juneffer Lopez of it all a couple times. Like, how do you sort of assess her performance in this film?
She's serviceable. She's believable. I don't think she's doing an Oscar-worthy performance by any means. I don't think this role asks her to do that. I think the way it's written, like I said, you could take her or leave her. You could plug anybody in here probably who has that. The only thing she brings to the role, which I can see a few other actors doing, which we can talk about later, is the doughy-eyed sweetness of it all, where she just looks like she's the sweetest, most caring therapist you could ever want your child to engage with. I think she brings that to the role. Other than that, I think you could take her or leave her.
That's fair. I mean, if you're casting a movie in 2000, you really have your pick of the litter on like anybody to play that role. I mean, she wouldn't be my top choice.
Mm-mm.
But that being said, given what she had done to this point in her career, kind of, I mean, like Selena was the high point. She's fine in Anaconda. Like, she's not bad in Anaconda. But as I've been prepping for stuff this month and like watching videos from Anaconda, it's almost like similar to this. They surrounded her with a really, really good cast. And so everybody else is so good that whether or not she's good doesn't necessarily matter to the overall success of the film, which I think strategically is pretty smart from a filmmaking standpoint. Like when you watch Anaconda, like Ice Cube's really memorable. John Voight's really memorable. And then like Jennifer Lopez is there and she's the final girl, but she's not what makes Anaconda. And I think similarly here, she's not necessarily what makes the cell. But I do actually like to see her in more dramatic roles, or at least in more dramatic opportunities.
Yeah.
Because I feel like her sort of persona that's coming from music videos, at least at the time, is stuff like she's a pop star, she's a sex symbol, and she's very much not the character that we see in The Cell. Right. And so for me, I think it is a good departure and it's a good opportunity for her to actually like do some real acting for her.
Real quote unquote acting.
But like in Anaconda, she doesn't really have to act. She has to, like, it's an action film. Like she has to be cute and be sympathetic. And we just like want to hope that she doesn't die at the end in Anaconda. But she doesn't have to do like that much like acting.
There's no heavy lifting. And I don't think there's any heavy lifting here either, honestly, because I think D'Onofrio's doing all the heavy lifting. He is this movie.
He is. One of my favorite sort of bits of bonus trivia that I read was that his wife would not sleep in the same bed with him for 2 weeks after she saw him in this movie because he was just too creepy.
He's too good. Yeah.
He was. He's so freaky in the movie. And he gets to sort of freak out in such a fun way where during that featurette where they're talking about Singh and his visual style, D'Onofrio was like, I'm not sure I want to do this movie. There's been a lot of serial killer stuff. I know that it's popular, but I don't know that I really want to just jump on that trend for the sake of jumping on it. And then he met with Singh and he told him about, this is what we want to make the movie look like. This is what we want to do with your character. This is sort of how we want to bracket off like who you are when you're trying to take medication maybe for things. Here's what happens like when you go off the rails. And this is like Carl when he's killing people. And then this is like Fantasy King Carl. And so I think it really enticed D'Onofrio to come on and take on the project by having the visual representation of him as this dark fantasy king, because that's a whole different sort of sandbox to play in for him. He's so much fun when he's decked out in all the costumes and all the makeup and everything, versus he's not really fun to watch when he's Carl, the suspended masturbating serial killer.
But that's what I'm talking about with the whole blend of the visual effects when it's done right, because he gives his immaculate performance as this psychopath. But then when you add in the visual touches where his body can only do so much, but then they tweak it with the visual design and they make him look like he's got jerky, weird movements, but it still looks natural the way that they do it with the CG. His voice, when he's speaking, and weird tones and shifts in his voice, all these things that he's giving this crazy manic performance, but then they tweak it even more with special effects. It is nightmare fuel if you're not ready for it. Like, you're like, what the fuck is this? This guy's so creepy. And that aspect sticks with me. Like, that's why I keep rewatching this movie, because I'm so blown away at what they did with his character visually.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think circling back to that question that I ask everybody of like, why do you say this is a bad movie? And I'm not saying that this is why I view it as a bad movie, but I think one of the biggest points of contention with the film is that it splits its focus between something that I think you and I both clearly like in the visual presentation of the fantasy aspect and sort of like the science of it. Because even the way that the sci-fi stuff looks is solid within its realm, right? They developed the weird hanging chairs. They've got the blocks that come out of the floor. Like, that looks science fiction-y, right? And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Fantasy world looks very fantasy world. Got
Check.
that. Okay, those two, we're going to blend those two things. And then there's like the police serial killer procedure that's coming in to have this like three-way with these two other elements. And we're going from this surrealist fantasy where I'm like super engaged in what's going on there because of how it's told visually. And then it's like, no, now we're driving through the desert or we're flying in a helicopter to the scene. It detracts focus from, I feel like, what is really engaging me in the moment. And I don't think that the police stuff is necessarily even bad. Like, if you cut out all the fantasy stuff and all the sci-fi stuff and really just like sort of trimmed it down into basically Silence of the Lambs, where you're trying to like elicit a confession from a serial killer to save somebody, and you just do the police stuff, I think functionally all that stuff falls in line with the rest of the stuff that we see from that era. It all looks and feels like it's contemporaries in that way.
You just get a completely different movie, though.
It's a way different movie. It's a completely different tone than what's going on when this dude's getting his like nipple rings yanked out and J-Lo's dressed like Mary, Mother of Christ, all of a sudden, you know. So you have these like huge, compelling visuals that are all like, they're all speaking this language of subtext. It's like, we're going to show you and not tell you and just trust that you're picking up on this stuff. And then the police aspect is very heavy on the, we're going to tell you while we're showing you. And so I just feel like those two things, they struggle to coexist. And I understand that like with what this movie is doing, they have to coexist, but that might be something that is maybe a little jarring or doesn't necessarily work for folks in the telling of this story. And so when we were thinking of, hey, like if this movie is made now, maybe the entire movie sort of takes place within this fantasy world or within this person's mind. And then the police stuff is sort of just like happening in the background. Like, we know what's going on, but maybe the cops
snippets. Yeah.
There's so many cops that are like big character pieces to this story. And like, you know, it's really J-Lo and Vincent D'Onofrio are like involved in one story with the two side scientists. And then the cops, there's like 15 to 20 different cop characters that we meet throughout the telling of the story. And it reminds me of, I want to say the movie is Imaginary. It's a horror film that came out last year, and it's about like imaginary friend, but it's really like a demon or something like that.
The big teddy bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so for the most part, like, I didn't really care for that movie, but then it gets to the end of the story and they're actually in like the fantasy land. And I was like, where was this the whole movie?
This movie? Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Like, it reminded me of sort of like Tim Burton's like Beetlejuice world, where they first go to the world of the recently deceased, right? And you see all of that set design stuff. And I'm like, that's really cool, but I don't understand like why it took us so long to get there. So kind of on that same note here, that's the really, I think, interesting meat on the bone with the visuals. And to pull us out of that and to then like sort of intercut those sequences of hey, we're driving through the desert, and then nope, we're back to J-Lo whipping out a sword. Now we're in the helicopter. Up now she's ripping his nipple rings out, like going back and forth between those two. Yeah, it's just like it's a weird split focus that I feel like I felt it a lot this time watching it. And maybe it was because I'm watching like the remastered visuals and like the color's amazing. The 4K looks great. And all of a sudden it's just like, no, I don't want to be in the helicopter with them right now.
No, you could have made a drinking game out of how many times they show the helicopter in this movie. Seriously.
What's hilarious, like I edit videos for each month to like showcase here's the movies that we're going to do. And like just a quick little like highlight reel. And there's one where I cut it and there's no helicopter in the part that I spliced. But then as I'm editing it and like blending, like fading the two images into each other, I'm like, where is that helicopter coming from? I see it. So like I couldn't even trim it out of what I was trying to trim, even though there was no helicopter in it. So I just found it funny that you mentioned that stupid helicopter. Look,
you're watching one movie and you get up and you go to get a drink, go to the bathroom, whatever. You come back and you're watching a different movie.
Did someone switch the channel?
That's how drastic it is. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, when you like maybe rent a helicopter for a day, you're like, we're going to film the shit out of this helicopter.
Every bit we can.
Yeah. So maybe you cut 5 minutes off of the helicopter there. But that being said, I think at least you got your money's worth.
For sure.
But yeah,
that's the director's cut. It's all helicopters.
I feel like the exploration of the subconscious is the most intriguing thing the story has to offer, right? Because we've seen serial killer stories to this point, but we haven't seen like what it's like to exist inside the mind of a serial killer. So when we're doing that and you're doing the thing that differentiates you from other serial killer films, why would you then want to just pivot back into the thing that we have seen in all of the other serial killer films? And so that's where I felt like the disconnect came for me. And maybe re-edit another version of this where you just sequence out all of the J-Lo stuff. And then at the end, then they're in the helicopter on the way to solve it at the end. And that's fine. We don't need to go back and forth between them.
Yeah, I fully agree. That's the movie version I would have wanted for sure. If I could pick, give me more of that.
Yeah. This was a movie that I think at the time for Juneffer Lopez, like she was pivoting to do more movies around this time because she did, what is it? Out of Sight before this, Anaconda, Selena, Jack, Money Train. So she was like switching into acting sort of like more regularly at that point. And then when this movie comes out, her fan base is a lot younger. She had to warn her fans, like, this is not an appropriate film for you to watch. So that leads me back to the casting of her was not a casting choice that was intended to bring in fans necessarily from like her musical audience to be the primary moviegoers for this film. So I like that because you're not just being like, oh, it's J-Lo, let's bring her in there. Like, I mean, no offense to Rihanna, but Rihanna gets cast in a lot of movies for like no reason other than she's Rihanna, right? Like, why is Rihanna in Battleship? I have no idea.
I think she was in one film where I think it was Ocean's 8. And I thought, she is so delightful. I actually like her as an actor.
Ocean's 8 was like way later, I think, than Battleship. Because she's been acting since then, and she's done some good stuff since then. But yeah, when I saw her in Battleship, I'm like, what is she even doing? Like, I didn't even know she acted. They just kind of like, when they were showing the trailer for it, it was like they're featuring her. And I'm like, okay, this is clearly an attempt to like bring her in as a cash grab opportunity. And then after this movie for J-Lo, though, or like right around it, she's getting like way heavy back into music videos, which I find funny because you work with a director who's got like this crazy visual storytelling style, who has a background in making music videos. And then the vast majority of work you're doing around the time, because she did voice acting for Ants in 98, and then The Cell was filmed in 99, released in 2000. But around all of that, for the most part, is music videos until she does Wedding Planner in 2001. And then it's like Wedding Planner is very much a vehicle for her as a celebrity and as a music star to now lead a film and bring that audience into the theater. So in terms of like, if I look at her whole career and I had to be like picking movies that made sense for like a career film retrospective, I think I would probably put The Cell in there.
Oh, it's one of the more diverse in her filmography. Absolutely. She tried to do more serious roles. She tried to do like with Enough and that Boy Next Door thriller thing. And then she also did a lot of the rom-coms with Made in Manhattan, Weddings, Wedding Planner, whatever. So this definitely sticks out as an outlier plot wise to a lot of her other films.
Yeah. And I guess, for bang for your buck, right? Was this more of, let's say, not necessarily like a great career choice, but in terms of utilizing her acting ability, was this a better use of it than her as a lead in rom-coms?
So when I watch this, I see glimpses of why they went ahead and went to her after the other person, who I don't know if you want to mention that later, got offered the role first. But I think they saw Selena and maybe Anaconda, but they definitely saw Selena and they said, this girl can show, or woman can show the sweetness that we need Catherine to be. Catherine has to embody all this righteousness and this compassion and the caring. And I think, because that's what I see when I watch this, I see glimpses of her role in Selena. So I think maybe that's what they were leaning on. They weren't necessarily, oh, she's got the chops, for dramatic. They were just like, she can embody Catherine, I think is what they went with.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of just like, I'm thinking of like, it reminds me sort of like of Madonna's acting career a little bit, and that like,
how dare you?
In terms of choices and like how she was utilized, I think Madonna's career probably had
all over the place.
Yeah, all over the place for sure. But both like music stars, both like huge like pop icons at one point, both sort of being utilized in the film industry for that reason. But they both take on like big biopics of famous like singing characters as well. So there's a lot of that.
Here's the thing. Madonna, in my opinion, excelled in her role in Evita.
Yeah.
Because she had the vocal training and it was a dramatic performance as well as vocal with singing. Yeah. I think that was her pinnacle of on screen for me. And then you go to J-Lo and I'm like, I like her as rom-com. I like her as, Monster-in-Law, Wedding Planner. Even in this, it's the same type of character. It's that sweetness. She's got that smile that just sucks you in and you're like, oh, I just want to hug her and make sure she's okay. That's her sweet spot, J-Lo, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I'm looking through her filmography. I've seen a lot of these, but not like all of them. I mean, I think I enjoyed Shotgun Wedding enough, which was a year or two ago. I just watched Atlas while I was on vacation, and I know that that's a movie I could definitely talk about on this show. But as a movie that's talking about sort of artificial intelligence and technology and character trauma as well, like, I enjoyed it. I mean, it's mech warriors and AI in the future, and J-Lo happens to be a scientist again. But yeah, I felt like that was totally watchable for me, and I think that's just maybe like more my style. But I've seen Wedding Planner, and I've seen I think I've seen Monster-in-Law. I never did see Hustlers though, and I heard that was good.
That okay,
I've heard really good things about that, and I kept meaning to be like, okay, we're gonna watch it, and just like never got around to it because we were doing cinema stripathon, so it was all stripper movies. And so that was going to be like, we're covering our bases, and that was going to be one that was at the end. And just a bunch of stuff happened before we got to finish it. So I either need to start over, which I don't think my wife wants to watch a bunch of stripper movies again, but
Hey, I'll sub in for that. That's fine. I love that subgenre.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting and just seeing how that's put together. And now, like, Honora probably gets added to the list, and so like maybe the quality of that movie is climbing a little bit. But we talked a lot about the visual stuff that goes on in this film, and I was surprised to see all of the influences that are like officially cited as part of this, because like some of it I think is fairly transparent, but then some of it is a little bit more heady, because if you're not like really part of like the art world, you're not going to know the artists that are being referenced here. And so for the sake of that, like Damien Hirst is referenced with the horse vivisection.
Yeah.
Which is a great scene. In the behind the scenes, I'm a little sad that they didn't do the practical work to like.
They didn't actually do that to a real horse.
Not a real horse. No. I'm very happy they didn't do that to a real horse, but to have that display of like the fake horse sectioned out that she has to walk around. I feel like time and money probably was a big restraint in making that happen. They're like, we're just going to fill it in with visual effects anyway. And then Odd Nerdrum, I think, is a Swiss artist who was also cited as one of the major influences. And then H.R. Geiger, who, of course, Alien and his, perverted shit. I mean, in fairness, it is. Yeah. So I think like that sort of like the surrealist painters and artists and thinkers that influence the film have a huge impact on why it looks the way that it does. And it's one of the biggest, like most appealing things about this movie. So I just wanted to mention that, but go for it.
I couldn't tell you who the artists and paintings are, and I'm sorry about not doing the research on that.
No,
but
fine.
The scene with the three girls when Vince Vaughn drops in and then they turn their head, they're all sitting looking up at the sky. That is a painting. And then when she is like the Mother Teresa type figure, that is from an image that exists as well. I'm not sure who the artist is. But the thing that got me the most for he talked about how he was the director influenced by Existence and Lynch films.
Yeah.
You can see that. You can totally see that. And then Fantastic Planet, the movie, is playing on Catherine's TV when she's falling asleep and before she has a nightmare. And I thought that was fascinating that I'm like, it's in there for a reason. It's got to be.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you watching the movie why it's significant or anything. I had to Google it. But I thought it was interesting that the director put all these things in here going, this is a fun nod. Nobody's probably going to get it, but it's a fun nod. Let's put it in.
So I'm going to take it you haven't seen Fantastic Planet then.
No, but I did do the research as to why he used it. And so I think it was very clever on his part.
Well, why do you think he used it?
The significance of dreams versus reality blending. It's some foreshadowing of what's going to come in the movie. Visual and thematic clues to the psychologically intense scenes we're going to get later. I have not seen it, but now I want to after reading that.
It's pretty short, if I recall correctly. I watched it, I don't know, maybe last year or the year before. And I think like the visual art that we see in that cartoon, I think is partially inspiring to the way that the visuals of this film look, but also like it's a very surrealist story, and it's about like giant alien race that keeps tiny humans as pets and kind of like doesn't view them as having like thoughts or emotions or feelings. And so when we see Carl in his subconscious sort of treat the women the way that he does as these prizes, like when she goes into like the chamber, like his hall of like psychotic artistry, right?
Yeah.
Like we see that like none of these women are viewed as sort of people. They're viewed as like objects. Like he makes collars for them so that they're sort of beholden to him as pets. And also sort of one of the visual nods we see too is when JLo first like wakes up dizzy and she thinks that she hasn't gone under yet, and then she walks into the corner and she's like shrunken down really tiny and looks back and sees the big body. So I think there's a little bit of sort of extra depth to him pulling from that, because even like I didn't catch that the first time I watched it, and then as I watched it recently I was like, she's watching Fantastic Planet. I was like, that's such a weird thing for this character to be watching, but I was like, she did just smoke a joint, so maybe it kind of makes sense because she's just gonna drift off. But that was the first question from trivia. So we'll get into the other ones. I know you already got another one of these right, but we'll do it anyway.
Time for trivia.
So that was question 1.
Okay.
Despite this movie having low critical scores, this is an Oscar-nominated film. Which Oscar was the film nominated for?
I'm going to go costumes.
You would think so, but it was nominated for Best Makeup.
What? Well, hand in hand, I think. Hand in hand.
Yeah, I mean, they've since melded makeup and hairstyling into one, and then costumes is like right there. It's like it's like the sibling category, right? And
I'm shocked.
Yeah, there was a pair of costume designers on this. Aiko was the costume designer that they brought from Dracula, and I should have written it down and I didn't, but the other costume designer is the one who did all of the like police wardrobes, all the real life clothing, and then all the fantasy stuff was like completely separate, so that they did have these very distinct identities visually. And Juneffer Lopez had complained that the costumes were uncomfortable. And the costume designer was like, well, your character is going to be uncomfortable, so maybe get used to it instead of me adjusting them for you. I don't know if she said it that harshly, but she was like, well, that's kind of the point, is that your character is not going to be comfortable.
Yes, I found that wildly fascinating that was their approach to this, the star quote of the movie, going, I don't want to wear these costumes. They're like, too bad, because your character needs to be this uncomfortable. But I did notice, you made me remember, in the scene where she follows the child in his mind to the kitchen scene where he's fighting with his father, and she's hiding in the cupboard watching. So if you pay attention in the movie, this is just a weird thing I noticed. JLo has fake acrylic nails on. And in this scene, when she's dressed down in this dowdy little tiny top, and I think she even has bare feet, maybe, or sandals. She looks very plain and follows him into this kitchen, and she's holding him and helping him. She has no fake nails. It's her real nails.
Interesting.
And I thought, so much, it's intentional. There's so much that intentionally went into dressing every person, every bit of the sets. I feel like you have to appreciate that level of detail and work that went into this.
I mean, I think so. I didn't really notice it, but now that you mention it, I remember she was wearing like a tank top, right? And so she's sort of meeting the kid in like the most casual of attires, in the way that he's just a kid going about his life. She wants to be non-threatening to him and trustworthy, and so like she's portrayed in that way. Very interesting. All right, we'll go to question 3. You had mentioned it a little bit earlier, but which other actress was initially slated to play Catherine Dean?
Sandy Bullock.
Sandra.
Yeah,
I get it.
Also, though, Enough. They also wanted Sandra for Enough, which I thought was really funny, because then that one went to JLo as well. Yeah,
and the more I think about it, I'm like, Sandra Bullock probably would have been good for this film in that
Totally.
she communicates the sort of empathy and compassion that
the sweetness.
Yeah, that you want out of the character. Her acting chops are definitely, at least at that time, like probably a decent amount ahead, but I don't think it was the wrong choice for her to do Miss Congeniality, because that was a huge movie for her, and I understand it because I love that movie. So,
oh, agreed. And same type of thing. She's a tough kind of character, her role in life, but then also she's super sweet. So it's a little similar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way more comedy.
Definitely more comedy than this movie. But yeah, that was not super surprising, but more surprising that they ended up sort of competing for two movies within like 2 years.
Yeah.
But I think that's more of like an industry thing, and that, hey, if we can get Sandra Bullock as our first choice, great. If not, like, who else do we want to fill the gap? Well, J-Lo's got fans, so let's bring her in here.
Right.
I think one of the more, I wouldn't say it's like the most interesting trivia, but one of my favorite bits of like quote unquote trivia is that Roger Ebert loved this movie. He doesn't like horror films for the most part. So the fact that not only did he like this movie, but it was one of his top 10 films of the year 2000 was like shocking to me, because every now and then, like, I'll read his review on one of these movies and he's fairly kind, or he liked it. And a lot of them, of course, I mean, we go to Critics Corner, and he hates a lot of the movies that I talk about. But the fact that someone who doesn't like horror really showed up for a movie that is not just a horror movie, but also like a sci-fi serial killer film, and really went to bat for it, was surprising to me.
It makes me want to know his thoughts on Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, we could probably look that up, but
to be honest with you,
dedicate the time to it right now.
Probably similar.
Probably,
I'm guessing, because that's the other half of this movie.
Yeah.
Movie A and movie B. Movie A, like you said, sort of Silence of the Lambs-ish. So I bet that's what appealed to him.
Well, just going to go through a couple other bits of bonus trivia. One of them that was like dangerously fascinating. So the actress Tara Subkoff lied during the audition that she was a lifeguard. So when she is in the tank that is filling up at the end of the movie, it was very difficult to film that, because, hey, you're supposed to be able to hold your breath, but it turns out she couldn't hold her breath without plugging her nose. So when you see her at the end of the film and she's like breathing through like that little pipe, she's still actually plugging her nose in that moment. And so you couldn't film a ton of underwater scenes with her because she like
took away her SAG card.
Yeah, right. She couldn't do it. I also found it interesting that the movie gets into like a lot of religious allegory, sort of not necessarily out of nowhere, but it all of a sudden becomes like very apparent in the film.
Well, look at how it starts, though. Look at how Starger's journey, what they try to in the movie tie it all back to.
Yeah.
The baptism thing. So that makes sense, actually.
It does. And it's like, we see that. I think with his baptism, obviously there's a lot of like trauma associated with his relationship with religion, which is why it like becomes so much more pronounced at the end. But there's another little like subtle thing that I don't know if it's true, but they said that the cloth that J-Lo wears over her face, they said it was designed to have like a Shroud of Turin look to it. And I never looked that closely at it because it just looked like a circuit board to me. So I'm going to have to go back and like on the 4K see if I actually like see a face on it, or if it's just because it's placed over her face that it is supposed to have that sort of like, notion to it.
So since I watched this movie a whole bunch this last week, several times, I'm going to call bullshit on that. I think that's reaching. That's my opinion, but you are right. It looks like a circuit board on this cloth, and they do put it on her face. So I think it's reaching, but it's still really fucking cool.
Yeah, it could have been the way that I read the description of the trivia that was not maybe written
also
as intentful as I would think.
If you got the trivia from IMDb, I'm going to say it's sus anyway. It's suspect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Been got before.
As we've learned, yes.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it that I have from the bonus trivia, other than the screenwriter has like kind of detached himself from this film for some reason. I've read multiple places that he was not happy with how much Singh changed the identity of the film. And honestly, I feel like he changed it for the better. Like, I didn't read your original script, but like the visual element of the story is what makes it interesting. And, we talked a little bit earlier about him having to rewrite stuff to match like the new tone of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he went on to like continue to work after this. So I think ultimately like a net win, even if he wants to remove himself from the situation.
Do you have examples of his future projects after this? What he did after?
I did. And then I closed the window because I wasn't actively interested anymore.
The reason I'm curious is because I feel like he probably wrote a more serial killer cop driven Silence of the Lamb type movie, and he was probably irritated with all the fantastical elements and how they kept growing and growing under Singh's vision, and that's probably what turned him off. So I'm curious if he went on to write more serious stuff to get the taste of this fantastical part out of his mouth.
Well, he wrote Poseidon after this, which is the remake of the Poseidon Adventure.
Action movie. Okay.
He wrote a movie that you hate in I Am Legend.
That's right. I talked about that.
He wrote Thor. He wrote the story for the first Thor, and then he penned another remake for Spike Lee's version of Old Boy.
Okay.
Which is not fantastical. That's
it's
a little
not.
bit.
No, the original's the way to go with Old Boy, the original. But the ending of I Am Legend, he changed for the film. So yeah, boo. I don't like this guy. That's my hot take. I don't like you, sir. That's fine. You can disown the cell. That's fine. I disown you.
Well, that's all I got for bonus trivia, but let's go to spin the wheel and to see what kind of cool bonus questions you get out of this. You got all of the questions? No, you got 2 out of 3, but you brought your own trivia, so we'll give you a third one anyway. Okay. All right, here's a good one. What is a song that matches the energy of this movie?
That 9 Inch Nails song. You know what I'm talking about? Is it called Closer?
Ooh, that's a good choice.
I think. Yeah, I'm going with that because I can picture like the video. God, I hope I have that song title right.
I mean, I think 9 Inch Nails would be a good band to like
do
a soundtrack for this if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I'll put in the link in the show notes for the song when I'm done. Spin the wheel again. We'll see what else we get. That's always a fun question because sometimes when I'm watching the movie, like I immediately feel it and I'm thinking of it the whole time. And then sometimes I don't think about it at all. So if I put you on the spot, it's only because the wheel has chosen it. This is a pretty simple one, but what is your favorite thing about this movie?
The fantastical dream sequences when you're inside Carl Starker's head. I just want that movie for 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, me too. I would say like a little bit more narrowly scoped. My favorite thing is specifically the way that D'Onofrio gets costumed throughout his time as like the dark fantasy king. So I would want more of that too, just because I think it looks awesome. And I mean, there's a scene where it's like, I know it's not him that's doing like the acrobatic part of it, but they're in like the water room. They've kind of like rescued themselves from his grip momentarily, and they're trying to get out of there. And you see him in like, I guess it's sort of like a court jester's outfit. It's very puffy gold. And then he's doing a handstand in the corner.
Yes.
Oh, and
Yes.
you see like the foot slowly coming down as he bends his way into the light. And of course, it's like, I don't think it's really him doing the full motion, but
No, and then he does
super
that
creepy.
Pennywise weird
Mm-hmm.
hopping over to pick up the child version of himself.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Exceedingly creepy. All right, so let's go to the third question because we've talked a little bit about sort of making a new version of this movie. So if you had the opportunity to fan cast, we're going to do the big three. So we're going to need a Catherine, we're going to need a Starger, and then we're going to need Agent Novak. So Vince Vaughn's character.
Okay. Who honestly, I like Vince Vaughn. Totally forgettable in this movie to me. But that's just me.
Well, you get to recast him right now.
Yeah, out with him. So because I have just recorded Substance with Newman, I have Substance on the brain.
Substance, okay.
So I'm going like Margaret Qualley.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she'd be fun.
Because she's, if you're going for the dramatic chops of it all, because she can do both, I think, with the sweetness. But if you want to go pure angel face, compassion, sweetheart, I'm going somebody like Amanda Seyfried, Abigail Breslin, somebody who can do the sweet part of Catherine.
I could see Amanda Seyfried in that role.
Yeah. And Carl Starger. So D'Onofrio, I feel like you can't. Like, why
tough,
would you
right?
even? Yeah, it's why would you even want to step into that and try to do that role? But I'm going with more of like an everyman looking kind of guy because Vaughn D'Onofrio is like 6'4" or something.
He's
like
huge,
very imposing, and that adds to the freakiness of it all. I want more of a simple everyman, so more like of a Glenn Powell type who can bring that Ted Bundy-ish quality versus the big scary guy.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, go for I mean, Glenn, hot commodity right now, as is Margaret Qualley. So those are two both probably good options, at least to put butts in seats.
Right. And then you bring on somebody to direct like a Substance person like Coralie Farge, who has an amazing eye. But as far as the Vince Vaughn role, honestly, you plug and play anybody. It didn't really matter to me who played that role. It's very forgettable. There's no romantic chemistry. There's no chops and stakes for him to really, I mean, he's just the cop running around. Yeah, I don't know. Nobody jumps out at me for that.
I mean, I kind of like the fact that he doesn't have romantic chemistry with her because that would feel like a lot of placating by the time that we get to the end. And so I kind of like that they just left that alone in the movie. But would you want to see that character like be more important to the story and to her?
No, we don't need it. I did mention the romantic thing, but like I'm glad we don't get a romantic subplot because we already have movie A, movie B. We don't need another thing going on. You're right. But you can see the caring at the end where they're saying goodbye, and she's got the dog and she's going to leave, and you can see that he gives her a hug and he cares what happens to her, but then not the romantic thing. So that's fine. But yeah, I don't want his role to be bigger. Like in the new version, say if we're recasting, it wouldn't matter who played him because I don't really want to see him that much anyway. I want less cop stuff in my remake and more fantasy.
Hey, that's fair. I get it.
Right? Hollywood, are you listening? Do what I want.
Yeah, I mean,
you'll get my money.
I know. Too bad it's like fantasy films with sort of like big fantasy visual ideas don't seem to do that well right now, sadly. So it's like the tried and true stuff of like dragons and knights and swords and that kind of fantasy thing always seems to do fairly well. But even something like Green Knight, which I thought was good and had the sort of visual representation that we're kind of talking about here, didn't really do that well. So I think looking back on it, like people will eventually get on board in time, but it's just maybe something that is not it's not in the zeitgeist for people to really want this kind of like surrealist fantasy on this level. But it looks great, so I would hope that, somebody wants to do more of it, but
Well, I would just be happy if we got just a reappraisal of this film
Yeah.
because people tend to now have grown. I mean, 25 years. Oh my God.
yeah,
25
25th anniversary.
years. So I'm hoping people who appreciate these kinds of things can maybe get it back out there and get people reappreciating it now and rewatching it.
Yeah, and I think it's also the kind of movie that it wasn't like super popular when it came out to the point where everybody saw it and didn't like it. It was something that was kind of a cult movie at the time and has been like slowly getting more and more people to see it over time. So it probably is ripe for reappraisal. And I remember when I first got the TV and I was like, oh, this is what I'm going to watch on my new TV. I had some people reach out and be like, oh, that's a great choice because they know like it looks amazing. And that's kind of what I'm watching it on the big ass TV for in the first place.
Fair. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Well, I think that concludes the wheel. I think that was 3. Was that 3?
Yeah. We spun the wheel. I don't want to buy a vowel. We're good.
Okay. Well, we're going to go over to more or less. So you get to tell me in detail or as little detail as you want something that you want more of in the film and something that you want less of in the film.
So you would think my obvious answer for more would be more fantasy sequences because that's what I keep harping on. However, I feel like they took an sort of an easy way out in wanting to investigate and dig into Carl's mind and why he is the way he is. They made up the Wayland's infraction form of schizophrenia for the movie. That's not a real thing because they just wanted a quick out. They're like, he has this condition. He has trauma from his childhood. The end. I actually would have liked, and this is the serial killer interest part of me now, more of that, more digging into, I don't want to say realistic in a movie that's not even close to being realistic, but a more real explanation of why he is the way he is instead of just making up something fake and chalking it up to that.
No, that's a good point because the movie, I think, makes an effort to be like, this is about psychology. It is about this child psychologist. It is about sort of the misunderstanding of psychological problems. And it's about asking the audience like whether or not you can have sympathy for someone who hurts people who is also hurt. Like that's a key tenet of the screenplay. Excuse me. So to then like go all the way to do all that work to get us to the point where it's like we believe the science, we believe the psychology and all that. And then we don't actually have the language to describe the thing that we wrote the movie about. So sorry, we're going to make something up as a shortcut because we got to have an end to this.
Right.
It does a disservice to the mental health aspect of the film that, especially for like 2000, this was still sort of a little bit ahead of the curve of like, it's like therapy is okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So definitely needed more of that, I think.
No, it's a great answer.
And then less, I could do the same thing I've been harping on, less of movie A, like less of the cop stuff. Just take it out.
No cops whatsoever. Get them out of here. There's enough movies about cops.
Little cops.
Little tiny cops that are
stand in the corner.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I mean, Vince Vaughn's a tall guy, so let's see him be the tiny guy for a change. So
that's right. He's tall too.
Yeah, I saw him hugging the director, and it was like he was a 1.5 feet taller than this guy. It was crazy. I was like, I didn't even realize it was Vince Vaughn for a second because I'm watching and it's the featurette about the director and he's looking at the camera and I'm watching that. And all of a sudden this like towering figure comes over to him and hugs him. And the guy's head is like mid nipple on Vince Vaughn. It's hilarious how giant that man is. But I think those are both good answers. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before we move on to Critics Corner?
So I just had one other note.
Mm-hmm.
In this fantasy movie, the most egregious thing to me that stuck out the most, the worst thing, was when Vince Vaughn's character is brushing his teeth and he's using the electric toothbrush and he's moving it in his mouth. Sir, you do not need to do that. It moves on its own.
Was he doing circles or was he doing like back and forth motion? Yeah, I don't know. I don't use an electric toothbrush anymore, so I don't know what the right way to do it is.
It does the work for you.
Yeah, they need to make a toothbrush that's like a Roomba for your mouth. You just like put it in there and just moves around your teeth.
That would get misused.
Well, hey, look, I mean, whatever floats your boat. Okay, I'm sure a lot of things have been misused over the years, so could be worse. Yeah, something like that. Like I don't at like stables and golf courses, they have like this thing that you put your shoe in and you basically just like move your shoe back and forth to get all the gunk off of it. So
Yeah.
like that, like a mouth guard with like toothbrushes in it that you can just sort of like move side to side.
I feel like Shark Tank is calling. You better patent that.
Yeah, maybe. Hey
That's pretty good.
guys. Yeah, somebody you want the mouth guard bristles? I'm seeking $50,000 for 100% ownership and no responsibility in this product. Cool. All right. Well, let's move over to Critics Corner.
Okay.
This is always where we get into the nitty gritty, but we'll see what the critics had to say about this film. It has a overall Metascore of 40, so like low but not horrendous. But it also has a low of 0. So we're starting at the very, very bottom. And this is the Los Angeles Times. Kenneth Turan, longtime LA Times film critic, says some movies make you sorry you've seen them, and The Cell is one of those. Creepy and horrific. It's a torture chamber film. I mean, like, kind of, but I don't feel that that's a negative. Like, that's what the movie is about.
It's the selling point.
Yeah.
So I'm going with it's just not his bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's fine.
That's fine. But a 0, like,
Yeah.
to not have any appreciation for like the costuming, the makeup, the artistry that went into it. I feel like that's just hitting below the belt because you want to, Kenneth. So kind of lame, but
maybe he was just having a bad day. Took it out on the movie.
Probably. I mean, it happens. It happens to the best of us. So, okay, what else we got here? We got a 30 from film.com. Gemma Files. It says visually stunning, but emotionally shallow. Excuse me. I don't necessarily think it's like as emotionally shallow as she's making it out to be, but as we are discussing things like wanting more from the psychological component to the story, I think there is at least some truth to what she's saying, because I feel like emotionally what we get out of Catherine's character is that she is very sympathetic and she wants to help, and I feel like the emotional cues ring fairly true for me. I feel like that component that you mentioned about like the psychological element comes up a little bit short when it needs to kind of stick the landing, because like you have us on board all the way till that point. So I don't know. Do you feel like this movie is lacking emotion?
I feel like the only way, no. I feel like the only way you can make up for that is if we would have delved deeper into Catherine, why she does what she does and what makes her the compassionate person who could care? She shows up, she does what she needs to do. I don't need an 8-part Netflix series on digging into the emotional connection with her, which I feel like would be the only part lacking.
I feel like maybe with a different actress, like maybe had it been Sandra Bullock, rather than getting exposition from some third party character saying like, oh, she was highly recommended and she wasn't the most experienced, blah, blah, blah. Maybe like we get all of that story just through the acting rather than having somebody else explain it to us. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I want the movie to be that much longer to include all of that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't feel emotionally shallow, but we'll move on. Let's see. We've got, I don't want to go to film.com again. They got a 40 on there too. Why you have two people on here? Okay, let's go. We'll read two of the 450s on the board.
Oh, okay.
And I'll let you choose the two because we've got the Miami Herald, the New York Times, the New York Post, and the Christian Science Monitor.
Christian Science Monitor.
David's,
Always.
David Stare. I know. I love it. It's like anytime that they're brave enough to write a review for one of the movies I'm talking about, like I kind of want to go to it all the time. But this is David Starrett, who I have read on the show before. He says the action is as grisly as it is surrealistic. Okay. Action. I mean, it's not really like super actiony, but the action that is there is grisly.
Yeah, I think he's referring to the fantasy sequences.
Yeah, there's a
that's all the surreal.
Yeah.
Which looks fucking amazing, by the way.
It does. It looks pretty damn good. And so I can see why Vince is freaking out there. But yeah, I mean, even in a movie like Braveheart, where he's being disemboweled, they don't actually like show us the disemboweling. So I think credit to horror movies that are like, no, like we live for the disemboweling.
It's the bread and butter.
Yeah.
Give it to us.
Okay, so of the Herald, the Times, and the New York Post, which one do you want?
Let's go with the Times.
New York Times. This is A.O. Scott. Gave it a 50. Says Mr. Singh may have an artist temperament, and he shows signs of being a director. So kind of like an backhanded compliment. Yeah.
Rude, sir.
Right? I mean, at least he's like, okay. This guy's an artist, but like he's not quite a director yet.
With that review, he shows signs of being a critic.
Yeah, that's not who I usually read from the Times either. So I'm curious how Scott got stuck with that one. But let's see, we've got Portland Oregonian is on board.
My hometown. I got to hear it.
Sean Levy.
Yeah,
I gave it an 83. Says something of an unforgettable experience. That's not the most glowing review for an 83, but
disconnect there.
Yeah, you could have just said it was an unforgettable experience.
Yeah,
but it's something of an unforgettable experience. Sean, that's a half measure, but I'll take the 83 because it brings the average up. And we mentioned him before, but he's on here. So Roger Ebert gave it a 100. This is a 4-star film for Roger Ebert, which is...
I did look up his Silence of the Lambs.
And?
3.5 out of 4.
Okay. He liked this movie better than Silence of the Lambs. That's crazy. Oh, it's great. I mean, Raj, I don't know that I necessarily agree with you. I think I like Silence of the Lambs better, and I can acknowledge that it's a better movie, but...
Yeah.
If it just comes down to like which serial killer's mind is more entertaining to be a part of, then I'm probably going to go with The Cell every time. But that's awesome. I'm really glad that Roger's on board with us. It makes me feel like less alone, at least, in that, like, look, one of the greatest film critics ever spoke very highly of this film. So
yeah, we're not alone on the island.
We can't be that wrong. I mean, we might be wrong, but we might not be that wrong, you know? Cool. All right. Well, that'll conclude Critics Corner. We went from a 0 to a 100. I don't think that's ever happened on the show. There's been zeros.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I've seen 100. I've probably seen at least one. But to see the full spectrum of a 0 and 100 on the same film is mind-blowing. But
it's a testament to how polarizing you like it or you don't. There's no middle ground.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely still enjoyed watching it this morning, but having also watched it recently, I had my laptop, so I was like taking notes while doing it a little bit more actively than I usually do, because I was like, yeah, sometimes I'm typing on my phone, I make too many typos, and I'm like, what the hell did I write? I didn't want to deal with that, so I was like, let's dust off the laptop and like do this the old-fashioned way. And yeah, I felt it was pretty brisk, even though I got up at 6:30 in the morning to watch this movie like a true psychopath. It's like, I got my coffee, it's 6:30, we're hitting play. I still felt like it was quick. Like, I thought because I was tired and because it was early in the morning, I was going to feel like it was kind of a drag, and it was like like maybe wanted to fall back asleep, but that really wasn't the case. I was engaged like from the very beginning. I think having watched it the most recent time helped in that sort of all of like the big gap of like, oh, I haven't seen this in 15 years. Like that's over with already. And so now I sort of get to like refocus on a movie that I just watched and sort of really get to hone in on the elements that I want to talk about and the things that I find that are important to this film. And I don't know that I would go as far as to say that this movie maybe lands on the scale of being like an important film overall, like in terms of all movies. But I think in terms of Singh's catalog, it's absolutely important. I think in terms of Juneffer's catalog, it's important. I think in terms of D'Onofrio's catalog, it's important too. So I do think there is a lot of value to be taken from this film if you're willing to allow yourself to take it.
Well, I would defy anyone to come up with another role that D'Onofrio does that compares to this.
The only one that I can think of, which is not like a direct line comparison, but would be his role in the original Men in Black, because he's so not himself. It's such like a physical role for a lot of it. He's a scene stealer in that movie as well. His presence and his performance really brings a lot to that movie that isn't already there. But it is very different in that it's like a lot of sort of slapsticky physical comedy, but coming from a place of also playing the villain. So
that's good. Okay. Yeah. Fair.
But like I said, not a direct line comparison. I would really have to go back through like his entire filmography to really see if I don't think he's done anything like this since.
Well, it's a dramatic role. It takes chops to do it for sure. But you add the fantastical performance elements of what his character in the fantasy land, the dreamland of his mind is expected to do. And that's a whole other thing, performance wise.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Like his wife didn't want to sleep in the same bed with him for 2 weeks after seeing this. And that's his wife. It'd be like if I released the podcast episode, it'd be like, no, that was too much. You were too much in character for that, which I never am. Like, this is just me. But the idea that like his spouse was having difficulty separating the person that she saw on screen from the person that she lived with, I think is a testament to how effective he is in this film. And like, because the visuals do a lot of work for, I think, communicating like the scale of the fantasy elements. And so like when he's in costume and he's got the horns and stuff like that, there's a lot of times where you can look and you kind of like don't even see him anymore. But when he's just like regular Carl and he's freaking out because he doesn't have like enough Advil to like get him through the headache, or he's in the basement, you know, like that version of him where he kind of even looks a little bit like Jeffrey Dahmer with the longer blonde hair. That version of him is super disturbing in a way that's very separate from what we get when he's in like the priested outfits.
Oh yeah, 100%. I don't blame the wife either. I'd be like, you had that in you, like to do this performance. This is nuts.
Because like his portrayal in Full Metal Jacket is like obviously iconic. It's like this slowly descending mental breakdown, and it is horrifying and it's very scary in the way that it is portrayed, but it's not like predatory in the same way. So yeah, I think it definitely belongs in like the conversation of like, if you're doing a career retrospective, I think you have to probably include this for Vincent.
100%. His is the standout performance. The movie isn't the same without him.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like sometimes you can have great performances in movies that are like bad or quote unquote bad. And I think because I'm someone that typically sort of like follows the actors that I'm interested in, even more so than the filmmakers or the writers, I'm primarily interested in the performances, because there's been so many movies that I've seen in my life that I feel like a good or great performance can elevate like a lesser film. So it'll either take it from being bad to being like mediocre or whatever. And it's like this performance is just so watchable that like I don't care about the rest of the movie. And if that is the case, then I feel like the movie's not really that bad because this performance is still so entertaining that sure, like all those other elements, whatever. But as a whole, you're sort of bringing the movie into the watchable range where it's like if you take that actor and that performance out, like this is maybe an unwatchable type of movie. So
yeah. Well, this is also the kind of movie that I'm not going to put it on as a background watch when I'm vacuuming, but I will sit down and watch it repeatedly. And I find that every time I watch it, I find something else to appreciate about it. So I think this is does well as a rewatchable film. You'll pick more up each time if you're appreciating it and paying attention for it, I think.
Yeah, because there's so much going on in the background of this movie, especially that as you begin to sort of like, I think that's what helped with me was that I had seen it fairly recently. And it's like, okay, so I'm not like really focused on that anymore. Like, let me see what's going on in the corners of this room and, that kind of stuff. So I became like oddly enamored with like one of the costume design choices that looked like his head was made of like desert sand, but in the way that it gets very dry and you see like the cracked mud surface.
Yeah.
And I was like, how did they do that? Because it kind of looks like styrofoam, but it also looks like mud. And then it's just like this whole scene, he's like smelling her, and I'm like, okay, like there's a lot going on here. Yeah.
It rewards you on a rewatch.
It does. So yeah, speaking of, rewatches, what is a good gateway drug counterpart for this film? What's something that's maybe in the neighborhood that people who haven't watched The Cell before might be willing to give it a chance?
So I came across, really racking my brain, I came to two films. Because one for movie A, one for movie B. I felt like Gothica.
Ooh, okay.
Would be a good
Berry.
One. As far as tone, vibe, visual, the subject matter, but also Lawnmower Man.
Oh.
Because of the Xbox CGI was so similar to me.
That's fair. Look, I grew up loving Lawnmower Man. I played I think it was a Super Nintendo version of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. That movie, but again, like Fahey's good in it.
Mm-hmm.
Pierce is good in it. And so even though like it's really not great, it kind of has its moments and wins you over. But that
Fun
also
is a word I use for that one.
Yeah. I mean, that deals with someone with a sort of like mental condition as well, and kind of using an artificial interface in order to work on that. So yeah, there's a lot of similarities there. I think this is maybe like too generous of a comparison, perhaps, but I think I'm going to say Shutter Island. Because there is kind of like a fantasy element going on, but there's also like a mystery investigation going on. There are some very rich visuals in the film, not necessarily that are on like the same fantasy level. It's all much more, I think, calculated than this, but it is a very good looking film on top of being a story that is going sort of like in two parallel directions.
That's a good one for sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the bright, colorful.
No, not at all.
Elements, but
not
very similar. Yeah. No, very similar otherwise.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like what is something that's maybe like this colorful and fantastical that would really fit the bill. And
that's why I went with Lawnmower Man.
Yeah, it's a good choice. It is. And that's just why like Shutter Island came to mind. So I was like, okay, we'll do it. You got Lawnmower Man covered. We'll go Scorsese on my side. But yes, I definitely want to do Lawnmower Man sometime on this show in the future. I just need to figure out like how I'm going to work it in, because I don't have a plan to get there yet, but I know that it's on the map somewhere. I just got to.
You need to do like the lesser Stephen King adaptations.
Yeah, that's actually probably a good one, because I did Maximum Overdrive, so we've already got one King in the can, and that one was a Hall of Fame episode. So I feel like doing some Stephen King movies is probably a good way to go. I'll probably make a note of that. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Thanks for
You'll
the
get a bill.
Yeah.
My consulting services.
Well, it's either Stephen King movies or Jennifer Lopez movies here at the show. But I want to give you an opportunity now to talk about your show and what you're working on.
So it's Let's Talk Turkeys with an S. You can find me on all the social medias. I'm asking people to submit a film that maybe isn't the best movie because we cover bad movies. Or if you want to be a guest on the show. Right now, I don't have a co-host for my upcoming season 5. So I am having guests on the show to talk with me. I'm re-releasing, like you said, some of the older episodes that I'm remastering from previous seasons, and that's a lot of fun. I'm finding some gems that I forgot that I even recorded. So I would love it if you would check us out and engage. I want to hear from you, and maybe you want to be on the show. So let's talk turkeys at yahoo.com is the most direct way to get me. But like I said, I'm on all the socials, and then you can hear us on all the places, Spotify, YouTube, Apple, etc.
I've been on the show. I said Justice for Hollow Man will be ours one day. I almost said Hollow Man as the movie that I would recommend, but I was like, nah, it doesn't really make sense. I mean, it's like kind of colorful and fun and crazy, but I'm like, nah. So we ended up at Shutter Island, but
no, speaking of which, Elizabeth Shue, another actress who could have done this role at the time in 2000 with the sweetness of her, the way she presents on screen.
She was busy with Hollow Man, I think.
Right, she was. She really was. God bless her.
Yeah. Are you working on another project? Do you want to talk about that? I see that you've put out like feelers for. I don't want to say it if you don't want to say it.
No, it's fine. Okay. I am in development for an erotica podcast, and so I am seeking people's submissions. Anybody can submit. You can be anonymous. We don't have to use your name, but I just want to hear about sexy tales and sexy encounters, whether they're real life or fictitious. And then I'm going to be getting that up and going in the new year.
Cool. That sounds fun. Is it going to be like part of the show, or are you just going to do that solo, or is it like, I guess I'm imagining sort of like an advice column. Like, what was it? Who was it? Is it Dr. Ruth that was on TV with like the sex stories?
I am not doing a Dr. Ruth. No. Oh, that's terrible for me to give advice like that. No, sir. I'm just going to be reading and commenting on the submissions. So it's going to be just me. Yeah.
Cool. And would people that want to submit to the same place they would do anything else?
Yes, the Let's Talk Turkeys email, or you can drop it in my inbox on any of my social medias for Let's Talk Turkey, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, all the places.
Cool. Well, I look forward to that. And when you say the new year, this is going to be a 2026 project?
It is a 20. Yeah, because I'm struggling right now to get season 5 of Let's Talk Turkeys in the can. So I definitely cannot take on a new project right this minute, but I'm developing it.
Fair enough. I know the struggle very well.
Right? You have so many things going on.
So stupid. What did I do to myself? I know. I just told myself, I was like, look, I kind of would like to do things weekly, but realistically, like, it'll happen when it happens. And I'm working with one guy in England on a show, so it's like, not only do we have like our own schedules, we've got an additional 8 hours that we have to plan into things. And while I was on vacation, they were able to get an interview scheduled with a guest that we wanted for the show, and I was like, I'm not there. I'm gonna be driving across Utah with like no cell service, so. I was like, I'll check in when I can, but I was like, I have faith. If you need help prepping for the interview, like, we can do a little bit of that. And I was like, delegate. It happened, and then we'll figure out the rest. And I've got the Scheiderverse thing going on over at the Scheist podcast, and that's like 30 films that there's no way we're gonna do one a week. So we just need to like do it piece by piece and over time, and just like. I'm trying not to put artificial pressure on myself anymore, because it was driving me nuts of like having to get things done within this. I was like, who's my editor? It's me. I'm not going to penalize myself for not meeting the deadline. Like, I'll just be realistic about what I can handle. And yeah, it'd be great if I could release episodes of this every Friday on cue. But like, I wanted to go on vacation and not do that. So
yep. You got to take care of yourself because you can't pour from an empty cup. If you need a break, you take a break.
Yeah. And I think realistically, like all other podcasters, I know that sort of being regularly scheduled is like something that like consistency is like drilled into us, but like also take a break. Like seriously, people, like don't work yourself into the ground for no reason. So yeah, like all July I'm gonna be like here but not here. I don't have any episodes planned, but someone did reach out to me for an episode, so I may jump on that and just actually take advantage of it while I can. But also the whole plan was to like, you know, I'm moving, my anniversary, my birthday are in July. So it's like already I know we're going to be busy for like at least a week in the middle of it. Plus we're moving. So that's additional planning and shit that needs to happen. So I figured maybe don't work in July and just do some of the I have episodes recorded for other stuff that I can like finally edit maybe and get done, but I got to pack up my whole studio and move. So
well, you're gonna leave everybody in July with all these Juneffer Lopez episodes to have in their ear holes. So that's good.
That's right. I know
that'll hold them over.
We're not coming back in August after that shit. But this was a lot of fun. The Cell is it's a gem of a movie. I know that there are fair criticisms of why this is sort of on the bad side of the spectrum, but I think given context, it's really not that bad. I've seen movies that are like so much worse than this, and I think there's a lot to take away from this. So I just want to thank you for your time and your assistance and your enthusiasm in bringing this episode to life.
Yes, thank you so much. This was too much fun to talk about. In fact, it makes me want to, like I said, go watch it again now because I'm all hyped from talking about it.
I think it's a great one to be the first one sort of like out of the gates for the month, because it's like we're not messing around here. We're not just talking like J-Lo rom-coms that are like underwhelming. It's like we're really going to dig our teeth into some J-Lo movies here, and I don't know if there's enough to do it again next year. I don't know if anybody would want to. I mean, because it's like Geely is not even on the docket, but also I don't think people love that movie.
I won't even do it on my show.
There you go.
It's bad. Yeah.
There you go. Like it's just so bad movies that are bad is going to be that's going to be another sub series that I have to launch, and that's
bad movies we don't love.
Right. I'll save that for somebody else. I'm sure there's enough podcasts out there that spend their energy talking about movies that they don't like, and
right.
We'll just carve our little niche out for ourselves, and
yes, we're setting the bar with this one. I like it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a tone setter for the rest of the month, for sure. So
awesome.
Thank you. I look forward to checking out your new project when it's ready. And maybe in July, if you need a 1 episode co-host, I can assist you with that, so I don't have to do all of the in-studio stuff myself.
Just show up and drop your knowledge and take off.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Nick, so much.
Of course. It's a pleasure. Please enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day.
You too.
Cool. Have a good one. Thank you to Movie Miss for coming back on the show and helping me kick off Juneffer Lopez in appropriately psychotic fashion. The Cell is a film that is so textured and rich in its visual language that it's stuck with me through all these years, and I really wanted an opportunity to sit down and talk to somebody about it, so this was a fantastic way to do it. If you had fun with us, make sure that you check out Movie Miss's regular show, Let's Talk Turkeys. I did an episode with her on Hollow Man, and more people should listen to it because Hollow Man deserves its praise as well. I will have all of her links up in the show notes for you. And of course, thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to the episode. I know there's a seemingly infinite number of options when it comes to podcasts, and I appreciate you letting me into your ear holes and hopefully into your hearts. In all seriousness, though, time is valuable, and I am very grateful that you've entrusted me with yours. If you enjoy the show, please consider leaving a review or at least a rating and telling a friend about it. If you don't enjoy it, then maybe let's keep that between us. As I mentioned in the open, the new members-only section is in fact live at badmovieswelove.captivate.fm/support, where you're going to get access to a bunch of goodies for only $5 a month. And I would absolutely love to hear from you, so if you have a bad movie you love and would like to be a guest on the show, you can contact me at badmovieswelove@theshice.com or badmovieswelove spelled LUV on Twitter and Instagram. And until next time, take care, be well, stay safe, and have fun however you get your movies. I know you're out there somewhere, Rids. I love you.